Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Well, this comes as a surprise for some of us, but we're all getting older. It's hard to sometimes embrace it, but it is the truth. And that being said, I want to share with you a wonderful center in New Mexico. And it's a campus that supports assisted living programs and so much more for those who are getting older. We're going to learn all about this place known as the Center for Ageless Living. The woman that is part of that and joins us today, Suzette Lindemuth, is on the program. Suzette, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful to have you here, and just a great center that's been set up. What part of New Mexico are you located in?
So we are located just south of Albuquerque, about 30 miles. We're in a pretty rural area called Los Lunas. The county is Valencia County, and we're a strong rural agricultural community, I would say.
So I've talked a little bit about this center. Give us some more details. Take us, how many beds are in the center? What are some of the amenities within?
Sure. So the Center for Ageless Living is actually a 6-acre community. We have 3 15-bed assisted living facilities on the campus. And then the campus also has the Garden Gate Day Spa and Salon and the Greenhouse Bistro and Bakery. And those are separate entities on the campus, but serve the people that live here on the campus. We also have our apartments. So we have 5 independent living apartments for seniors who just need some supportive services. But again, it's nice to have some retail amenities that everybody can access, including our employees and families. So it makes it a warm and friendly environment. We're very committed to aging well. We look at bringing in community resources when we can, helping our families, not just with their loved ones, but even with their own journey on aging.
You had me at bakery. Just wow. Amazing. I mean, I'm getting visuals of, I would be living in the bakery. That would be me. I want to know, as our population ages, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing now, maybe versus you might have heard of maybe 10, 15-ish or more years ago? What's going on now?
Well, I've been in the industry 38 years, so I've seen a lot of trends that give some pause and some concern as we are aging in a different environment that we were even before COVID, before some of the real estate impacts of the stock market and finances in terms of funding for assisted living. So there's been a lot of changes in the industry. I am hopeful that we'll continue to see some positive changes about how to support individuals, but there is some concern. Obviously, the cost of assisted living and long-term care has gotten to be almost out of the range for the normal person. I think we struggle here at the center. We do have a nonprofit on the campus, so we're looking at how to expand some support for individuals who are low income. And then also just looking at creative ways to have people become more aware of their own health and how their own health is critical to aging well. And so as we move through some of the topics about aging, affordability is one of them, what we can do to be prepared, how we can stay healthy so that we can avoid some of the long-term care pitfalls, I would call them. And it's going to be a challenge. And I tell people that I think when you hit about 65 and you're looking at how, my parents retired when they were in their 50s, 55, at the time. And so, now hardly anybody's retiring at 65 because we are working longer and we need those resources to stay financially stable. And so that's been a big change. Of course, our families are all working. Everybody's busy. It's hard to have support within your own family. So this creation of a community to support that, I think, is going to be a trend we're going to see as the aging population grows.
You've been working with the care of and the connection of those older folks for many years. It's been said that we need a purpose. As somebody ages, do you find that it's actually maybe a better thing that we're working later in life, where we're just not, I'm just giving up, I'm retiring. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. I don't even say that word in my world. It's just, I don't see that happening anytime soon. But do you think it's not such a bad thing that people aren't retiring, where it keeps them sharp and keeps them plugged into society?
Well, I think retirement is an odd word. You know, it sort of means, retire, like you're tired. Like we are tired. All of us are tired.
You know what? I never thought of it in that regard. Wow.
I mean, yeah, we do get that we're tired, but I don't think being tired is the end of your life. I mean, and I do agree that staying active and involved in a profession or a passion is really what keeps us healthy and aging and well and staying young at heart and making new friends and joining new communities. And, the sort of that saying, it's important to learn something new every day. So I don't hear the term retirement used very often anymore, I think, for those reasons. But I do think that there is a time in everyone's life where there's a little bit of a reflection on what your goals are, where your passions are still lying. A lot of things are affected by our physical health, our mental health, and family obligations sometimes play a huge role as we kind of have to change our direction and what we're doing. So I think it's more about changing and instead of retiring. And I think you have to really be prepared. So I've kind of embraced a new thing called training for aging. So I think we kind of have to be like that sports football player out there on the field. Like we might have a few injuries, but we have to get up. We have to go to exercise and therapy. We have to stay strong so that we can keep playing in the game of life, so to speak. So training, I think, is something we all have to think about is like, are we ready for aging? Are we ready? Or what do we need to train in to be ready for aging?
It's new territory. It's almost like a new skill that needs to be learned if you've never retired before. And I spoke to a friend recently who has a friend, and this gentleman lives in New York City, did very well for himself, lives in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. Fantastic, right? He goes to see his friend who recently retired. His friend was balled up in the corner of the penthouse crying because he feels like his life is in a little bit sense over because he was what he did. That was his purpose. He doesn't know what to do with himself now. And it's been a huge challenge according to my friend who knows him. So it's interesting, we have it all, but if you don't have your purpose, what do you have? And that's I believe that's what that gentleman is experiencing right now.
And there's a lot of loss. And I think, when we have a career, we've been in a profession, and we have a group of strong colleagues around us and friends around us from the office. And when we sort of decide that we're not going to do that anymore, we lose that community. So before anybody tries to make a major change like that, I think it's really important to establish a new community. Like, what are your passions and other interests? I'm sure your friend has many interests. I mean, sure. I especially living in New York, I mean, it is one of the most walkable cities in the world. There's many, many things going on in the city to engage you. And so I think even though he's lost something, it's really saying, what am I gaining? Where am I going to go now? And maybe do that before you take that big leap and say, sure. I'm going to not go to the office anymore. I'm going to change directions. And community is critical to aging well. I mean, isolation is probably the number one concern and problem with aging because you can live in the middle of the city and feel really isolated.
And it seems reasonable to think that of this gentleman. And I'm sure he didn't, on paper or in his mind, I'm not going to be working. I'm going to be great. We have so much to do. Doesn't know how to do it. I want to talk about some of the things that the center offers. But before we get there, you mentioned the word health. What are you seeing differently now in the health of our aging population versus years ago when you first started in this field? What's different now? I
do think we're seeing people are healthier generally. I think most of the individuals that are now the baby boomers do understand the value of exercising and good nutrition and staying spiritually connected to something for your mental health. I do see people being healthier, and people are choosing or coming into assisted living with many more chronic illnesses and diseases and more physical assistance than they did maybe 20, 25 years ago. I think the community aspect of aging is changing, and there are a lot of options for individuals to go into those types of communities at a much younger age. There are 55 plus communities. I'm not a big fan of just trying to isolate everybody at 55 into a community, but, it's sort of a marketing strategy. But,
yeah.
There are lots of, active communities. You always see them advertised. We have, the senior active community, and you're going, no, I want to go into the inactive community. Send me over there. Don't send me to the active.
I never even thought of it that way. 55 and over active community. No, I don't want that. I want the inactive community, and certainly
left alone.
But I think the grand illusion is, when it's a 55 and over community, the thought is, well, it's probably cheaper. Those folks are more on a fixed income. So not the case, at least not around here.
And I think one of the concerns I have with sort of isolating groups into particular types of programs, and I even have a little bit of a concern with people who have memory loss or dementia, and putting people into dementia units, is that you lose that diversity that we all have in our communities. So we don't live in places where it's all just people who are 55 and who are a certain educational level. And I think it's important to be involved in situations and community where you have smaller children, middle-aged teenagers who are in crisis, and older people who are able to sage and give advice and, can help other seniors who are struggling with something that they had in their life 10 years ago. So I love that diversity. And I think the Center for Ageless Living has really been very committed to creating that type of program. So when we look at admitting anybody into our center, we don't look at a diagnosis. We really look at function and behavior. Is this something that somebody's coming into our program is going to benefit from the activities we have, from the Health and Wellness Center? I mean, we have a pool, we have yoga, we have Tai Chi, we have movement classes, arts and craft classes. And so can someone take advantage of those things? Even if they need a lot of assistance being involved in those activities, that's okay. But, we don't really try to segregate by diagnosis.
How did this, Suzette, begin for you? Your life's work is helping the aging population. Where did this all begin for you?
Well, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I was very fortunate to grow up in a small town where we had a Masonic village, that was owned and run by the Masons. And I worked there when I was 16, and I also worked there when I was 17. And so I started very young, working with in senior programs, helping people. I saw that the Masons had, again, a wonderful way of building community. And the Masons in themselves, have their own, I'm not going to say secret community because we don't say that anymore, but they do have a strong community bond. And social organizations are great for that. And I felt very privileged to be able to work in the nursing home at that center. But they also had a big farm. They had a farmer's market. They had orchards. They grew their own beef or steaks. And that program continues even to this day. And actually, my mother is actually in the Masonic Village in Elizabethtown. And I applaud them every day for the great care that they give my mom. So that kind of started me on this mission, and I became a licensed recreation therapist, and that was my formal training and management in the development of programs. So I'd say I'm a good programmer from that educational experience. When I moved to New Mexico, things were really changing in the world of assisted living. I mean, it wasn't called that. It was called residential shelter care homes, which we really fought to change the name of that because it's kind of a derogatory term in some ways. And as the industry has changed over the years, I've been very involved in legislation and regulatory issues, trying to improve things in the industry so that we have options for our elders, and just really grew this passion about trying to create alternatives to nursing homes, which is really the goal with assisted living and community-based programs. And then I read a book called The Fountain of Age by Betty Friedan, which really opened my eyes to this whole concept of community. And Betty Friedan is a wonderful researcher. She talked a lot about her mother, who lived in Phoenix in a sunrise, assisted living type of program, but she lived on like the 11th floor of the huge facility, and she felt isolated there. She didn't feel connected to that community. And there was a whole lot of discussion about why that it could occur or how that could occur, and how to not have that be part of the overall agenda for aging services, that it was better to be a little smaller, to be more community-based, to be able to bring others into the community to support aging services. And I really embraced that and started to build all the amenities that are now here at the Center for Ageless Living.
And there are many, which we'll get to in future podcasts. What got you to New Mexico?
Well, of course, it was the love of my life. You know, I was living in Colorado, and I met my future husband when I was actually traveling in Mexico, and he wanted to move to Albuquerque. And so I decided that was I was changing my career. I used to work in corrections, and so I worked in the local county facility there and had a wonderful career there for 6 years, and then decided that in terms of my long-term health, that being in the correctional system was probably not, a good decision. So it was nice to go into a more therapeutic setting, working for St. Joseph Hospital and our Memorial Hospital system, and that's where I saw this really need for alternatives for nursing homes for elders.
Wow.
So,
I've heard so many great things about Albuquerque and the area there. One word or up to 3 words that describe that for you.
Well, it is the land of enchantment. So
enchantment.
I guess enchantment is really a good word to describe New Mexico. One of the things I love about New Mexico is the diversity of the culture here. We have a lot of Indian pueblos. We have a lot of Hispanics. We have a lot of people from Mexico, Spain. So culturally, it is a very diverse area to live in, and I really love that about it. I also love the weather. I grew up on the East Coast, and I do not like damp, cold weather, and I was very happy to be in a drier, more mild climate environment. So I do miss the growing season here. We don't have much of a growing season, and it is hard to grow things here, although we have our own organic gardens here at the center. We do grow a lot of our own produce here. We have about over 350 different types of plants on the campus that we use in our restaurant, and obviously have it used in treatments as well. So we're very fortunate to be able to have fruit trees and an orchard. We recycle all of our water here. We have our own treatment plant and our community water system. So we're very sustainable. We're very sensitive to the environment in which we live in. We work very hard at trying to preserve that. And it is, again, part of the mission of the center to be a good steward of our environment.
Thank you for sharing that, because some might have a look at, Albuquerque, a facility like you have there that, it's very quaint. It's very isolated. You have a water treatment plant. You're recycling water. You're doing, some amazing things, to enhance our planet. Wow. I would have never guessed that. That's fantastic. And growing your own organics. My gosh. You guys got it going on over there. By the way, you mentioned cold and damp. I'm in New York, Long Island specifically. We're surrounded by water. It's cold and damp today.
Yeah. I have vivid memories of cold winters in Pennsylvania.
I bet.
So I don't miss those. I mean, I do miss my family who still live in the Pennsylvania area. And we love it. I mean, I love to travel. My partner and I, Bob Simon, we travel a lot. I do a lot of research and looking at other spas and amenities in other communities. So I like to think of myself as creative enough to go someplace and embrace what they're doing and bring it back to the center and try to incorporate it into the either restaurant or the spa or our senior services.
What's the best way to find out more about the center? Maybe your website?
Yeah, so our website is nmagelessliving.com. You can also email me at Suzette at nmagelessliving.com. We're going to be holding a few of these discussions, and I'd love to hear the people that are listening, if they have questions or concerns or want to address something. I'm hoping we can really talk seriously about some of the issues that are facing all of us as we age, including, dying and hospice care and nutrition and health and the importance of beauty, inner beauty and outer beauty. All those things are important as we age.
So much to talk about in the future. And I love the name Ageless Living. It just says so much. It's a number. It's what you, like you said, internalize the beauty within and out. I can't say any more about it. It's like ageless living. It's just a wonderful way to look at things.
Well, we have a little motto, and that is agelessness is a, let's see, let me explain it. Agelessness is a way of living. It's a way, it's a concept of living.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today, Suzette. Looking forward next time we get together and go into some detail about aging and also the center.
Well, thanks. And again, if our listeners want to reach out to me, please email me, Suzette@nmagelessliving.com.
Excellent. Same here. Instant feedback, Steve@gmail.com. We'd love to entertain your questions and insight, and we'll be right back.
Agelessness, the art of growing old without regard to time. The Center for Ageless Living is your gateway to health, beauty, wellness, and aging services. We are located in the heart of Valencia County at 5 Thomas Road in Los Lunas, New Mexico. The center is located on a 6-acre campus committed to creating a community around aging gracefully. Visit us online at nmagelessliving.com for more information.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah,
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.